Speaking about your first music teacher, I think that's incredibly important, like how we are taught in the childhood, what kind of habits are installed, whether it was a positive or maybe a little bit stressful or frightful experience. So, how would you describe your first experiences? Do you remember your teachers actively like shaping your hand position? Like, for example, in when I was a kid, my teacher would constantly hold my hand, and kind of like try to organize my fingers and build it, although it was rather an intuitive knowledge on her part, I think. So how it was for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, I started playing the violin when I was 4 years old. So this was my first instrument. And I had a great teacher. She was very loving and funny in the same time because she was also, as a hobby, she also used to be a clown.
Wow.
And that was amazing for me. And I loved it. It very well went along with me. And I also then was playing in the orchestra with the violin and in string quartet actually for several years, and I loved it very very much. And my father is a pianist as well. And much later on, I mean, so as a kid, I was always playing under the piano with my little toy cars and everything. So I was very used to hearing the sound of the piano. And I remember still very well, it was in a like autumn vacation when I was like 11 years old. And my dad was away playing some concerts in Japan. And I called him and I was like, I thought I want to play some piano. And at that time, I was obsessed with Paganini on the violin. And then I asked him, yeah, what is the equivalent at the piano? And he told me, like, well, I guess Franz Liszt. And I mean, he didn't really take me that seriously at that point. And then I was like, yeah, what is some like cool virtuoso pieces by Liszt? And he was like, I guess the etudes. So I went to like his part with all the music scores, and I went through the etudes, and nobody taught me to learn the like bass clef. So I turned the pages, and I was very happy to see the one etude, which was Gnomenreigen, which basically the first two pages are everything in a violin clef. So I was like, okay, cool. I guess like I can learn this. So I just went to the piano. I knew how the notes sounded, and I basically taught myself a little bit of this. And it was kind of fun. And then I had some lessons with my dad afterwards, but it was not like systematic like at the violin. Like the teacher really had a plan and everything. But my dad was rather like I was trying out, and then sometimes I would call him, and be like, "Hey, can you shortly come? Can you tell me if it's right what I'm doing?" And so a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't want to say that I was like completely self-trained because that probably also wouldn't be true. But a lot of stuff I really taught myself. And did I ever think about a hand position or anything? Like, definitely not. Like, this didn't even exist for me. And I really believe that that is also really good. That is so. And that I really at the piano did have not any kind of method. So I was just trying out, and I was reading a lot. I was sight reading tons of stuff. So I kind of progressed quickly, which led us to think like, okay, what should we do? It was not always easy. My father is amazing, but of course, with your own dad as a teacher, you do have fights and all this kind of stuff. So we decided, let's check some teachers in the university. We used to live near Cologne in Germany. And we found a very well-known teacher, whom I'm not going to mention his name better. And he was a great pianist, or is himself, and had many great students, etc. And I came to him, and it was kind of like, for me in this moment, like a great honor. Wow, I'm playing piano only for like 3 years, and I'm accepted as like a pre-college student into the class of this famous piano teacher and everything. And then things changed very much, I would say, because he was very different, and he was very busy most of the time. So he could see me sometimes only like once a month or something like this. And definitely there it was very stressful in his lessons. I was not used to that.
How old
Uh,
was you?
Sorry,
How old was you when you got there?
14. Yeah. Very stressful, I would say. I felt very small, of course, in the room. And Yeah, and it's interesting because he started giving me information about how to use my body correctly. Suddenly there were rules like your fingers have to be always round. You have to play always to the bottom of the key. You have to use a lot of weight. And there were like suddenly all these concepts which I had no idea what they should mean, you know. And yeah, I mean that was a little bit a very so I tried my best doing what he wanted, but it was very difficult for me, I would say. Yeah.
So you didn't find it always organic or always natural.
Oh, not at all. But I was very ambitious. So, like, I thought that, I mean, I need to struggle to become a good pianist, right? And I mean, he used to say sentences, you know, I was very young, you know, and I was just figuring stuff out and I was ambitious. I wanted to read Chopin etudes. And then I was like doing Chopin etudes in the Godowski versions and everything. But like, I was just very curious, you know, and I brought it to him, and I remember he told me something like, "Oh, you know, you will never be able to play these pieces. You just have bad fingers." He went further. He said, "You have bad genes, you know. So it's not you will never
That's not
be
good
like a
enough. Whatever
pianist
you
good
do,
enough."
you will never be enough.
Yeah, yeah. He said you will never be able to play Opus 10 in your life, you know. And I was of course very upset. What did I do? I went home and I started practicing for several hours this etude Opus 10 by Chopin, you know, which caused trouble to a lot of people. You know, I heard from many others. I saw an interview with Leon Fleischer. I heard that also this etude for him caused him problems, you know. And I remember 2, 3 weeks later, I went back, I played it to him, and I said like, oh, you know, like I'm practicing this a lot now, but like in the evenings, I'm having in pain after playing it, you know. And she would say, oh, so very good. So you worked. So okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean I didn't know. I just didn't know, you know, like.
Okay, so this brings us to the next question that your piano teachers at that, at least at that age, which is crucial for development, were not only unable to warn you, but actually kind of like misled you into this dangerous direction.
Yes, most definitely. And you know, I'm of course I'm careful, you know, speaking about this because was he a great artist? Absolutely yes. Did it sound amazing when he was playing? Absolutely yes. Did I learn a lot? Absolutely yes, you know. And
But
I'm
this
not pointing
specific
fingers.
aspect when it comes to physiology, unfortunately, I find it absolutely like I have no problem saying that a lot of great teachers who are great musicians and who can teach you great music making still lack basic education about what is safe when it comes to physiology, and we have to be aware of that. We have to, without mocking anyone or trying to devalue anyone, but still every student has to be aware that uh, not everyone is very proficient in these specific topics when it comes to efficiency and safety of piano playing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with you there, you know. And yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting because with me, it wasn't that I needed necessarily, it was not the lack of instructions. I think I just needed time to figure stuff out, you know. I think you can learn without telling somebody this is the hand position you have to be in, etc. You know, but I think the wrong instructions and also telling somebody to ignore signals and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a little bit dangerous, you know. So yes, I started having fatigue, you know,
At which
and
age did it happen first? Like, if you
I would
remember.
say like 15, 16, I felt like a lot of like tension and fatigue, but I still somehow no problem. Like I mean, it's not. I don't want to say that I didn't have any issues, but like still my fingers would run very fast and everything, you know. And I was playing difficult pieces already, like you know, with 15, 16, I was playing like Rachmaninoff, Paganini, Rhapsody, Schumann, Carnival, Ravel, Miroir, like all. I mean, all these kinds of stuff, you know. So considering that I started at 11, it was like I was doing quick somehow, which is also a bit dangerous maybe. And then I started noticing um, not necessarily just the pain, but I started noticing like that something with my middle and ring fingers, or third and fourth finger in the right hand, was not just feeling the same. So just as if something just feels a little bit different. So I remember sometimes it would be like I would look at my hand and the finger would be like, I would need to check, wait, is my finger there? Is my finger there? Like I like somehow the connection was like, so I was of course confused, you know. And I started focusing very much on it, which is not, but I mean, when you are young and you don't know, you know, and I started telling it to my parents. And I mean, it's of course a very difficult thing to,
So
so
do
we
I
went through
understand
that.
correctly that at times you didn't like feel your fingers, you kind of wasn't aware about them like physically?
Yes, it was almost like it would start with, you know, almost like you say a sentence and you don't think about it, right? You say a sentence and the words just come out. And then it would be like, now I'll plan to say, hi, Dennis. And then suddenly I would say like, hi, Dennis. It was like, wait, what happened? Like, I didn't plan to do that, you know, and it was just like a bit confusing, of course, you know, because like it wasn't happening previously, you know. So if it was always like this, you would tell somebody, which is what people were telling me, I guess you need to do more finger exercises because it seems that your technique is not so good, you know. And of course, I went to like a doctor, but they said your fingers are totally fine. There's no problem, you know, because I don't know. So I went to my teacher. I told him about this. He had, of course, no clue, and asked him, "Did you ever experience anything like this?" And he was almost like laughing. I was like, "Me? I mean, no, of course not." You know.
Right, yes. This can never happen to me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I think the most painful for me looking back is like the years of thinking that something is wrong with me and going deeper and deeper in worrying so much about my right hand and trying so much to understand what am I doing wrong. Because obviously you feel like something isn't working. So of course you start changing your technique and you start thinking, maybe I need to sit higher, maybe I need to sit lower, maybe lower wrist, higher wrist, maybe more weight, maybe less weight, maybe I have to use my fingers more. And that led me like to this endless journey of going to 1,000 master classes. And meanwhile, the playing is like deteriorating. So yes, I'm growing as a musician. I'm becoming more wise in how to pace my interpretations, and I'm playing more complex pieces, Schumann, whatever, you know, name it, I don't know. And still I struggle a lot, and I have to play with a lot of like biting my teeth. And I was even at one point I was playing like this, looking towards my right hand, you know, because I was like trying to with all of my body helping a compensation that two fingers basically weren't able to really move anymore. And yeah, I mean, I was still going to competitions. Even sometimes I would get some prize in some international competition with like two fingers almost like locked together, which I don't know, it's crazy if you think about it. But the stress I experienced, because I wasn't worried so much about like the memory or the interpretation, but I was just thinking like I was like in the airplane to the competition. I really hope my fingers will work when I'm on stage, you know. And that's really not a nice feeling.
Yeah,
That is really not
definitely.
nice. Yeah.
And I know that. I've been there. Um, but it wasn't like pain. So you just couldn't control your fingers, but you didn't experience like physical pain.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the pain because I don't think pain is the problem here. But because I was, you know, crazy enough to say like there's something, but like I need to play, right? I have concerts, I want to be successful or something, you know. So I just kept playing, and that led to tremendous pain. So then I would have pains everywhere in the arm, in the neck, like here, and like in many parts, because I would use so much pressure to compensate. I
But
remember
this
that
pain
then.
which you experienced in other parts of the body, it probably was due to compensation which you
Yes,
used in order
yes,
to compensate for. So focal dystonia by itself not necessarily leads to physical pain. Do I understand correctly?
no, no, I don't think so. Like I
Just
would
lack
feel
of
a lot of
control. You
pain.
just don't control your fingers anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's like something with the map, like in the brain is this like wrong, you know. But it's not like, yes, there was a lot of pain, but I would think that, so I started going to physiotherapists and started, yeah, it went worse and worse. I mean, shortcut, it went worse and worse. And at one point I started like because also then I was sitting so weird, and then I started, you know, feeling pain in my left hand. And then the pain in the right hand was so big that I could not carry like a shopping bag or something like this.
Where exactly did you experience pain in your right hand then?
To be honest, like at this point everywhere, like whole arm hurting really, and fingers. Most of the day I would walk with my fingers like this, like not really, yeah, kind of protecting and like not being able to open the hand well and everything. So like people will think, what's wrong with this guy? Why do you walk like this? And I mean, thank God, then I like moved cities and I went to like great musician teacher in Amsterdam who was very kind to me and great musician. And I wanted to do an Erasmus studies there. And he kind of opened like a space, a warmer space in a lesson. And after 2, 3 lessons, I remember going to the room and I was like, he asked me, I looked probably very bad. He asked me, like, okay. So I was just crying and everything. And like, I realized, what, I have to stop playing. Like, this is not, I mean, it's just not possible, And then, of course, a very long journey started of trying to do many things and find many things. And luckily,
At which point you got the diagnosis? When did you actually understood what has happened to you?
Luckily, after I stopped playing, which was like when I was like 22, 23, rather soon. I remember I went to like a musician's doctor in Hanover, and he told me this. Oh, you have focal dystonia. And at first, I didn't believe it.
I told you that, not a doctor.
No, a doctor, a musician's doctor. Like,
doctor. Okay.
Yeah, Eckhard Altenmüller. He's very famous. He used to like do a lot of research there. I think he's in pension now, but great guy and very experienced. And he told me this very quickly. He said, "Play me a scale," and then he was like, "Oh yeah, this is dystonia." Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I was like, I think in denial because I thought like this can't be. I mean, I just have to figure out, what to change, and then it's gonna go away. But yeah, I mean, then what I started doing then is like near our house in where I live, my parents lived, there was a guitarist who had worked with other people with dystonia, which is a crazy coincidence because he just lives 10 minutes foot walk from our home, and who was also a Feldenkrais practitioner. And I started going to him, and that helped me tremendously because it was, first of all, like, let's feel our body. And I was not aware that I was coming there to him, was sitting like this and talking about the hand and this, and then he knew, like, before we even think about the hand, like, we have to work on this, and not just in terms of physically, but I was so scared. And I think that like Feldenkrais really helped me to kind of like, I did it like every day, and I started feeling kind of like a center better, and I started feeling more like I could breathe. Was the hand better? No. But at least I felt better as a human being. Sorry?
And it was the first foundational stone.
Yeah.
Wow, what a story. But returning back to the moment where you got your diagnosis, where you first had a denial, but what did you feel after that when you have accepted the possibility that this is indeed what happens to you? And probably you immediately got all kind of thoughts like what is going to happen with your career and what you have to do. So can you elaborate on that, although I understand that those are very hard memories?
Yeah, also in a way, a certain sense of relief. Because I think for years, I thought I might be crazy, feeling something that I can't really explain to people, knowing that it can't be that I just have to go back to Hanon. Like that. So I felt very weird, and I felt like definitely something is wrong with me, and in that moment I was like, okay, so I'm not imagining this. There's actually something, and yeah. So I think there was also big space, and I mean, for a year or so I couldn't touch the piano, because I was just like, it was there was a time it was too painful for me, yes, to even look at it and everything. But then, I mean, I loved music very much, and even in this time, I was listening a lot to music, going to the opera and being interested in conducting. So I found a private teacher from whom I took like conducting lessons and all this kind of stuff, and I was like singing a bit for fun and like.
So did you
So for
ever
me,
consider like taking another path, like becoming a conductor or singer or
yes,
composer?
for sure. Yeah, yeah. I was considering conducting. But then there was something, I love the piano. I love music in general, but I also love the piano. And there was something that felt for me not right with the conducting. I like it, I love the music, but there was something where I felt like a duty to find out like what is I felt like I already invested so much. Like I'm not just I'm very stubborn and I just felt like no, like I will find out what's going on here, and yeah, and then I mean also, yeah, it's maybe, I am very stubborn, and this is sometimes good, sometimes bad. Probably the same stubbornness which was me as a 14 years old boy saying, no, no, I will prove this teacher now, so I will practice Opus 10 to 4 or 5 hours every day. Is the same stubbornness that got me into the problems in a way, is also the one that like brings me out, that I kind of relentlessly. I mean, it was very painful because I would sit at the piano, I would play 2, 3 notes, and I would just not understand why I can't, why like this finger is staying inside, and there's like anger. You want to just almost like, I want to play some Prokofiev, I want to like give everything, but then I'm sitting there really scared, playing one note, break, and this, so not easy holding yourself back so much. And I would be very, I would try 1 hour, then I would feel like, no, this doesn't work. I will never recover. I will never play the piano again. And I would like go outside into the woods, take a walk, and then while I'm in the nature, I'm having this idea. Wait, so if the finger does this mean that I have to do this and this? And then I would come back and try, and it would go a bit better, and then the next day a bit worse again. And I mean, luckily then I found some very good people. I mean, I was like very thankful. Like one of the first people that really helped me then also with the piano was like Robert Durso in the United States, and like he was a student of Taubman for many years, and then he worked a lot with people, and he had some. Wait, okay. It was frozen
Yes.
for a moment, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit frozen, but the audio was there all the time.
Sorry,
The
can you
audio
hear me?
was there. Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay.
Just
I
the
don't know
audio
when it.
was
Maybe I
frozen.
will just. Maybe I'll just start the sentence again, right?
Yeah, please repeat that sentence with Robert Dorso.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like somebody had recommended me to check out the Taubman approach. This is also like a more famous kind of approach. So I went to see YouTube videos, and first of all, I was like, "Wow, so great that somebody works on this." So great that somebody acknowledges that there is something, And I found Robert Durso, and we started doing online lessons because then also soon COVID started, so I couldn't go there. And we worked a lot. And I think that was like really helpful because it kind of like we went very step by step. He was very patient, and it was not easy necessarily, but we both tried really hard, And I think it helped me a lot of things. But I think that I'm very curious, I really want to not only help myself necessarily, but I really also have this thing like, what, I want to understand what is going on. And I want to also understand how I can help others. So I really went to a lot of people because I was really curious, like, wow, that's really great work, but I'm curious, how does another person work, and to recognize parallels and also there's actually no proof that there's like actually that is a piano technical problem,
Hmm.
dystonia. So yes, it's really great trying to work on your movements and everything, and I really wanted that, and it really helped me because I also thought, so maybe I can heal this and in the meantime become a better pianist. Great. But that's also a little bit dangerous at times because then you only make the movements responsible. And then I met like a lady in Germany, Angelika Stockmann. I really think she's fantastic. And she works also a lot with the body, but she connects very much body and mind almost like in a psychosomatic way, I would say. And that was so helpful for me because like I remember coming to her and playing the raindrop prelude for her, and my hand was very closed like this. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but she found some right words and made me like really let it go in this moment and kind of remember that there was something along let's make peace with the hand and everything. And that was the first moment where the hand kind of opened up
Oh,
more, you
so she
know?
found a psychological way to approach the problem, to change or to flip your mindset, and it immediately helped with the technical problem or with the
Yes.
control.
Yes. I will be careful somehow with the word like psychological because it's really she's really clever and really finding the words like of really always addressing both.
Hmm.
She also talks about movements, but she never tells you directly what to do. And so there is a kind of like thing that works a lot with images, and it's really she said all the people she worked with dystonia, she worked with a lot of musicians, they all had like a totally overstressed nervous system.
Mm.
And they all she also said she discovered a certain types of personalities that would have this, you know, and very ambitious usually, also many times very sensitive to sound, to music, the instrument, etc. And so it was not that she would just say like something like, now let's imagine like just kind of like change the mindset, but it would really go along like lying on the ground, doing exercises that put you physically in the right state, doing certain types of meditation, and then certain types of movements and a certain psychological advice that would kind of combined lead to something, you know.
Wow.
And I don't know. And yeah, so what she always said, you know, was that it's not so much just about the what, but about the how. So I had to figure out for myself that, for example, in this work with like Robert Durso also, you know, I knew like, wow, this is a really great approach to piano playing. And the movements make perfect sense and I understand them, I can do them. But then maybe sometimes there's like a blockade that is like a layer underneath even the movement work, you know? And getting there is very tricky, you know? And yeah, so I'm still figuring this out and trying to figure this out kind of in my own teaching as well. How can I, you know, I also later on, just out of curiosity, I studied music physiology at the university in Zurich, which was also really great because that would also give me a lot of like informations about anatomy of the body, like also like physiology of the brain, how we learn, how we process information, and all this kinds of stuff, you know. And my credo, so to say, is always a bit like, okay, I, as a pedagogue, as a teacher, I should know as much as possible about this. I should be very flexible about it, also to adjust to be different between students, so to say, not to have like, you know, one size fits all kind of thing. But I don't need to necessarily explain always the background, you know. I would be very happy as a student not to need to think about muscles or anything because that's very destructive for your own playing. When I think about the stuff I know, it's difficult for me. Like when my knowledge comes in, like I can't play really, so I have to say goodbye to it in a way, you know. So I'm always thinking, okay, how can I use all this great information, and then how can I go around it to put it like into somebody else's body, brain, and without necessarily explaining all the steps, you know, and
Wow.
I find that really
That sounds interesting,
fascinating.
because just recently I got an email from one student who also has a focal dystonia, and I usually don't really take students with the focal dystonia because I never had it. I don't think I'm the best person to treat this particular condition because it's a very special one. So I usually
Mm.
redirect them to you or to other people I know who deal with this. Uh, but he wrote me about one person who helped student with this condition, and they were complaining that, Dennis, I have taken 20 lessons with this person, but we are mostly still learning some theoretical stuff, and there is little practical exercises. and my budget is growing. It's already like overblown, and I'm wasting a lot of money. But we're still not doing anything practical because this teacher wants me to like learn like the whole, course around physiology. So I actually, yeah, that's interesting to hear your perspective that you try not to overload students with like theoretical information because yeah, there are other cases, let's say.
Yes, and also it's really the way how do we learn, because like we don't necessarily, I can explain to somebody more or less. I mean, there are people that can explain it better than me, of course, but I studied the muscles and everything, and like I think it's almost impossible to really understand what is like really happening at the piano. And I think it should remain a mystery in the end of the day, in a way. I think I'm much more interested in like the pathway. How can we unlock it? And yes, so I read, I study, I can tell you all the muscles we have here, the muscles we have here. It's very interesting. But in the end of the day, you have to think, okay, so what do I do with this knowledge? How do I make it like click for somebody else? And how do I invent? So I started thinking a lot like to invent little games and stuff, and I'm doing it with different people, and I started figuring out that it's so fun. It's so fun because piano playing should be fun, actually. And when I was a child, it was fun. And then I think the biggest problem is the fun was taken away, and I think you can have right movements, but if all the fun is taken away, you can still get injured, I think. And then I started thinking, like when I work like with adult people, they are so thankful that we can have fun in my lesson room, and that we can just like play a note and then laugh and think like, wait, this is a funny feeling, and now I'm doing this, and wait, this feels, and then they are like, oh, it reminds me when I was a little kid and I was doing this, and then I think like, yeah, that's the right way, and of course with kids as well. So I started, I also teach some kids, and then I had like a little boy, and he came to me when he was just 5 years old and shy, hiding under the piano at first, but very talented. Like I noticed immediately great ears and everything. And I really was, okay, how can I teach this kid now without explaining him anything about technique, but just letting him do the right motions and enjoy the sound, enjoy like the physical feeling also of, yeah, this feels great to do this movement. Yeah, it feels great to activate the fingers, but without going through all the steps of like, okay, so to play the fingers correctly at the piano, place your hand here. And no, that's not for me. Maybe it works, but it's not for me. And this boy, I can send you a video later. 1 year later, he was playing a Chopin waltz, and he was playing Polchinelle by Villa-Lobos, and he was enjoying himself. I will send it to you. You can take a look. And I was like, so yes, of course, I'm in the beginning of this career. There's a lot to learn for me. Every teaching day, I learn, but I really have a strong intuition. Like I'm quite convinced that there's something right in this. And somehow in the past century, there was a lot about creating methods, creating approaches, and all of this kind of stuff. But like, I think my personal path is a little bit like getting a little bit away from this because, yeah, it's just, I mean,
but still,
so anyone who is curious,
your method is so great because you know so much and you have mastered so many techniques and you have learned so many approaches, but it didn't make you like dogmatic or methodical, overly methodical. You use all that knowledge in a more playful, organic way, encouraging students to master things naturally, creatively, and without this like dogma. So that's
at
a
least.
great combination, of course. I think just a playful approach without much understanding of the physiology would not work either very effectively. So
Yeah, I see that a
that's a
lot, and I think
combination.
that's where we have some responsibility, I think, as pedagogues. I mean, I think it's really so much like the combination of knowledge, and also it takes a lot of knowledge to be playful, actually, on how to, So, I mean, what I didn't say before, because I take it so for granted now. So I started doing more, and I kept doing everything, I kept working with all these great people, and all of them were so helpful to me, and I'm incredibly thankful to all of them. It was also so de-traumatizing for me, from all the past teachers that I had, to have this lesson room where I'm allowed to express myself and where I'm allowed to, which is also, I think, when you are not allowed to express yourself, already you change something. And when the teacher says, oh, your way how you play music is wrong and your musicality is wrong, like I already hold my shoulders, and I'm already pulling myself back, and then I would lock my diaphragm and I wouldn't breathe anymore, but the fingers have to work. So that doesn't really go together. But luckily, what I wanted to say is that so step by step, getting better. I was playing more, still difficult, always difficult, but I'm very stubborn. I said I love music, and then I would play a concert, and the finger still wouldn't really work, but I would say I will play anyways. And I think that helped me a lot. To also, we have to be sensitive to pain and to discomfort, but also, at least me, I was at a point where I was so scared to make one step that I couldn't. So I needed a certain push to go through a kind of like wall to also say, no, I will fight. And I fought concerts and I felt horrible. And I said, still, I will play the next one as well. And then a little bit better, and then a bit better. And then I played some chamber music, I played solo, and I started playing more difficult stuff. And now it's again better. I feel every few weeks it gets a little bit better, which is amazing. Like 1 year ago, I was trying some Chopin etudes and I was frustrated. Yeah, so now I can play, some Schumann Davidsbündler Tänze, which is also very difficult actually, but I still can't play Chopin etudes, and I will never be able to play Chopin etudes. And now I'm trying something like, oh, interesting. So now I was so fascinated, which was making me personally proud because all the progress started with Opus 10-2 of Chopin. And now I was playing Opus 10-2 in a medium to fast tempo, I would say something there, maybe not yet full metronome, without problems and without symptoms and everything. So I was like, wow, that's really cool, because like that was a situation I couldn't even like one bar of this would put me like in a hole. And now I can sit there kind of chill doing it and like this. So I'm actually excited and I feel so happy that like now I'm 30 and I'm so curious what will be if I look back to this interview in a few years, where will I be then? Because all the stuff I did, it seems to be like just growing and growing. And I can just encourage like anyone, that, yeah, I mean, you definitely didn't reach your limitations.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
know?
we are going to definitely rewatch it and to make a follow-up video in a few years.
Yes.
I'm so happy that you're excited about your progress and that you found a way that leads you there. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, this is such a fantastic interview. It's so interesting to listen to you. I would just consider to, if from your permission, of course, with your permission, to publish it somewhere on Teachable as a like full talk, in addition to a shorter YouTube video, because there's like so much priceless information and such an
Yeah.
exciting story. I really love stories of people who have been through some weird stuff and still didn't break, didn't give up.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring to me personally.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice and it's nice to share it in a way. Thank you for the opportunity to letting me share it. It's very nice. Thank you for asking the right questions. And I know I was also thinking now while we were talking that, I mean, I totally understand that it should be compact and everything, but it would be also very nice. I mean, you can think about maybe it can be a slightly longer video even on
Well,
YouTube.
we can do it the way I did with Roberto Poli, another author I interviewed. We will use some parts of this video for a YouTube talk, and then I can just publish the whole video on Teachable for those who really want to watch the full thing. And it will
Yeah.
be, of course, free of charge. It will be free content.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, just maybe if you have time, just a couple of other things
Yes.
I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
I know that you don't really want to give like recommendations, like if you have focal dystonia, go there, learn this method. I know that it's very um, personal, maybe. But nevertheless, can you just maybe mention, if you feel this is appropriate, just a range of methods and specialists, musicians, physical therapists, some particular methods for piano, just and to have an idea what was your journey like, so that people who experience this could consider exploring some of these options and.
Yeah. I mean, I think the variety is so huge. And I would say the first thing is like not to completely panic, to take a step back, and I mean, we will put here like a way to also contact me. So please, anyone feel more than free to text me. We can have a talk and everything. And I think I can recommend to anyone, like watching online, there's so much video material about the Tauchmann approach. And I really think that is worth it for anyone, just to look at
Absolutely.
it and to understand, there's a group of people who have put so much effort over decades in it, and there's so much right there. So like this is something I find really great about the Tauchmann approach, which is like that I have seen it be so helpful for such a different variety of people, like doesn't matter if it's like so-called amateurs, which sounds a bit negative, but I love working with them and they have such a passion for music. And kids, professional pianists, some friends of mine whom I worked with who were like international prize winners in the biggest piano competitions, who I showed this approach and was helpful to them, So I think that is something where I can surely recommend, But I have also met others that like really focused a lot like on a kind of like psychosomatic approach, and they were also very successful with this, And I think also here in Zurich, they have this like physiology department where you can anyways go always for like a kind of like check of what is going on. The person who leads it, studied also medicine, and he's a doctor, and understands a variety of things a lot, and so they can always redirect you. And that's also, I wouldn't dare to just work with anyone. If I feel like I can do something, I would work with them. But please, anyone, feel free to text me, and then we can always see from there. Can we work together? Just 2 days ago, a pianist wrote me with apparently dystonia, and we will have like an online session soon. And let's see. But it takes a lot of time, patience, and everything. And I really can't say that there's this one thing that like will solve it.
Okay, yeah. So this is definitely personal. There is no one jacket all size. So, do you have a recommendation for a wide range of piano learners? What to keep in mind to avoid this issue, and what are the earliest signs that it starts building, and how to avoid it, and how to react, what to do if you think you're having the earliest symptoms?
Mhm. I mean, I think the one simple thing to kind of avoid at the piano is to have the fingers overly curled. I don't know, maybe in 5 years I will say something different, but it's pretty much like, I think everyone who I've worked with, it's not that curling, is such a terrible thing, but it's just very simple, if you flex so much, you just also have a longer way to extend again, and so it's a lot of labor, simply, I was definitely, I'll send you a video. I was doing crazy stuff when I was 15, 16, and I was playing so curled, and yeah, I think it's a waste of energy. And I think all the people I've talked with who had dystonia also in guitar, I have some good friends, guitarists and like this, they said the same, that if they touch the string, the movement should be immediately over, and they were taught that the finger should follow inside. And it's not that per se this is like wrong, but it just, then you have to recover a lot, and then don't be surprised,
Just a
probably
risk
one day it just,
factor among
yeah.
others, probably.
Yes, it is a risk factor. And the other risk factor, I would say, maybe this is controversial, but I love being a bit controversial anyways. So I think the other risk factor is, to be so obsessed with your fingers, and to be so obsessed with how your fingers look, and to be so obsessed with the shape of the hand. Yes, probably there is something like a correct or good shape to play the piano, but I've met so many pianists that have a really different hand shape, and everybody's hand looks also actually a little bit different, and I really think, like, if you try from the outside, or if you go to YouTube, which I did a lot, and then you watch videos of some pianists, and then you try to copy what they do, my opinion, very dangerous, because you try to make your hand look like Martha Argerich, and it's just never gonna look like that. It's not about better or worse, but it's the hand also has a certain look if it moves a certain way. And I have done it. Think but like always trying to find I don't know, this is a bit dangerous in my eyes.
Hmm. Okay. But do you think that practicing too much or practicing through pain is another risk factor?
Okay, yes, sorry, I should have mentioned this first. Like I went so specific, like not thinking about the obvious, but obviously yes. I tell you, one of the things that is extremely helpful is breaks. Like I practice 10 minutes timer, and then I do 2 minutes of break, you know? Yeah, sometimes when I'm in the music, I turn off the timer on my iPad and I play 2, 3 more minutes, but then I take a break. Sometimes I'm like, not today, I don't want to do it, and I don't do it, and I play for 2, 3 hours without a break, and I feel it later because the tiredness starts really in the brain, because you tire really the motoric area like of your brain. And these little breaks are incredibly helpful. And generally, I really don't think you should ever play even with the little breaks. Like definitely don't play for more than 3 hours at one block. Like, okay, what I'm saying right now is half scientifically based, and I'm sure we will find some
The same
pianists.
thing Frederick Chopin advised his students basically. So,
Really,
of course, he said that you shouldn't practice piano more than 3 hours per day.
well, there you go. I think he knew something. And I mean,
Definitely.
really, I mean, yeah. So, like that is so, and especially when you start feeling tired, and especially if you start feeling like stuck. And then we always want to fix the problem if we are ambitious.
If you
And
see the
when
wall, you
something
just
does,
bang your head harder against that wall. This is our nature.
can you say that again?
When we see a wall, we tend to smash it with our head
Yes.
harder and harder until we break either the head or the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, no, totally. Totally. Yes. I mean, don't. Just don't. It's just really not worth it. Also because like the best ideas how to solve passages always come from me when I'm not at the piano. I forgot to mention completely one thing before that I actually wanted. I will still tell it now to include in my storyline that while I was recovering with the right hand, I was playing a lot of left hand repertoire. I feel like I want to say that because it was such a big part of my journey that really for 2, 3 years, I was playing only concerts with the left hand, which was crazy. I learned like 2.5 hours of repertoire for the left hand alone, like 2 hours solo plus Ravel concerto, of course, etc. And some people commissioned me pieces, wrote me pieces for the left and everything. And yeah, that was fascinating. It was really tricky. It was really tricky for the brain, also because I had to think many things so new and I had to think so much about how to use my body. And like, so many times I really came to the points where I thought this is impossible. And I would be so kind of like locked and frustrated, analyzing how I moved here and how I did this there and it wouldn't work. And then, I went to a holiday maybe for a week and I would be at the beach and for 5 days, no piano. And then, wait, I think I just understood something. And then I would go back to the piano, like, okay, yeah, that was the solution. And I really realized I almost never really progress in those moments where I'm just completely stubborn, staying and staying and staying and really wanting to solve it. It's always when I take a step back where maybe some solution appears. Yeah, and I don't know, the left hand playing was really nice. It was very, I mean, I really played some whole recitals on the left hand, but um, oh wow, okay, right now the my iPhone memory is full.
Oh,
Should I delete
no, that's
something and keep?
no, that's okay. We can use what we have and we can
Okay,
continue.
okay. So I just finished this. I will just finish the sentence that
Sure.
I was just saying it was kind of special to play with the left hand. It was like a different feeling. It was also really scary, and I wouldn't now go and play full recitals with the left hand because it was really like you come like with one arm and you sit there and then you're supposed to play a whole concert like this. And it was, I don't know, it was just really different from coming to a concert and putting both arms there. And suddenly you're sitting like this and the public is there. But it was also, I must say, it's really cool. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, another pianist also went down this path for quite a while, and they were also performing left-hand recitals.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a reasonable path to
Yeah,
take, of course.
yeah.
But your story is unique that you still returned to piano playing and you didn't change the career path and you didn't give up and you're still working on getting back into a complete shape as a two-hand pianist. That's quite unique. I think that not so many, probably not everyone manages to do this, sadly. Yeah. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts? What is the approximate recovery rate if you can
This I
estimate
have
it?
absolutely no idea. But I do know that, yeah, I met people that really didn't recover, that also it's too painful for them to like address the problem because it just keeps reappearing and keeps reappearing. I have some friends that had it and that recovered, but that are even playing like on international stages and everything, but that are not publicly talking about it, which I also understand. It's a very vulnerable topic, and I don't know how managers react to it if you tell it. Um, in a way, that was good for them that like they stopped playing immediately when they started having some symptoms. Also, knowing my story, perhaps, I don't know. And for me, it was difficult because I had it for so many years and because it started so young. So that was, I think, very difficult for me because I had only like 4 years or so of playing without it. And then my whole university life and everything was already with it, just that it was getting worse and worse. So
And
I
you
think
didn't
that's
stop because
why,
you didn't know that it's better to stop.
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know, and I went on and on. Other than that, I think nowadays the methods are better and better. But I think, yeah, it requires a lot of persistency, and I also fully understand. Like I've been there so many times that I just think, like, why the hell? This is ridiculous. Because, like, if I watch, people like with 11 years old playing all Chopin etudes now on YouTube or this and that. I'm thinking like, why am I here with age, I don't know, 27, 28, trying to just play one passage from a Mozart sonata, trying to see if I can recover from this. But then, yeah, these are all thoughts and they're all valid. But in the end, for me, it's just a lot of love for music that over and over, I would just somehow it would also take me out of the perspective, that I would feel like, okay, so maybe I play even, yeah, 1, 2 fingers, they don't work, but this Schubert movement is just so amazing. And yeah, so what can I do?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Really admire your persistence
thank you.
and your love to music.
Yeah, I'm not exaggerating, I'm just telling how it is.
So yeah, it's fascinating to me to learn that focal dystonia can form when you play through pain, but itself, like when you get it, uh, it's not about pain that much. It's just rather about losing control. So yeah, you naturally start to think that, okay, probably my technique is bad. I have to practice harder, and you make it even worse. So that's the deceptive nature of it, right?
Yes. Yeah, obviously, I mean, if you were able to play a passage at a certain speed and then you aren't, you think you have to practice more. And also, to be very honest, it would be much easier and much nicer. And sometimes I still go to this mindset because I had it for many years. I have to be careful with myself to find this one technical solution, like that solves it all. And that doesn't really exist, because then it's also like in a way a hope that maybe if I just do this, it's gonna go away. And that was very painful. That it is what I experienced then is like every day I would find a new thing. So if I do this, it will be a bit better. But it's like the new things, the brain likes them because it's a change of perspective. So if you sit always high and you tell to someone, my teacher said always sit the lowest possible and you put them really low, the first impression might always be like, wow, this feels a lot better because this is something new for the brain. And then the hand is a bit better or like this. And then next day you don't realize it's worse. And like, so yeah, that's
Hmm.
so I realized, okay, I can't keep jumping every day from here to here to here to here to here, trying to figure it out. It's like you have to stop myself when I practice. Like don't do this. Just yeah.
Wow. That's also an interesting point. Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, thank you. I think that was a great talk. Do you have any other things you want to share regarding recovery or your experience? Or, for example, we didn't quite elaborate. I know this is a tricky topic and a very probably sensitive and very personal and subjective topic. Um, I would be really interested to hear more about how would you describe influence of stress and the psychological state and the headspace to forming and recovery. How does it how is it related?
I honestly don't think it's so tricky to say because it's just obviously yes, just big yes. I mean, I think that
So that's another
uh,
risk factor, basically being in
yes,
stress.
yes, because
Okay, that's
I don't remember who it was, and I'm probably not smart enough to formulate it as well as he did, and like that. But it was really I asked the same question. He told me, well, everything starts as an emotion. Everything starts, in the brain. So yes, you can say, but it was the movement of the finger that made the problem complicated to say because the movements for me change very much according, also to how stressed I am. If I start feeling very stressed, if I'm scared about mistakes, if you hold your breath, if you tense your neck, which I was doing like a lot, and like this, you already change things. And um, well, yeah, so definitely it's so interconnected, and I think for me everything works worse when I'm very stressed. Like my memory gets worse, and like just many things. So for me it's always that's I would really put to this category of how we do things. So there's the thing, I can play this Mozart, I can use this movements, I can use my hands like this, but of course my body has to work so much harder if I'm doing this, in a gear, like which is just not the right gear. And for me, that I know for me personally, this changes so much, and definitely with other musicians I've worked with also, and what I would really wish for would be more acceptance, more openness, because I'm open talking about this. And what I started noticing is, like that in my study degree, nobody would talk about it. And automatically, if you have pain, it would mean that you are probably a bad pianist, and everything, and you start believing this yourself. And I mean, in sports, it's just so normal that people are injured, and I don't understand why it's still such a taboo with musicians, because when I then went to a master class and I openly talked about it, and then people come to my lesson room knocking and like, I don't want anybody to know about this, but can you help me?
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I wish it wouldn't need to be like this. And I wish we could separate, you can be a great musician, you can even be a great pianist, but you can still have some problems just for whatever reasons.
yeah, that's such a great point. Yeah, this tabooing certain topics and these injuries are so extremely common. I mean, people practice so much and stay under such enormous pressure to comply with the requirements to enter competitions, to play gigantic programs. So
Yes.
it's rather difficult to find a professional pianist who has never experienced pain than one with a with an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And last but not least, this is almost funny to mention for us, but we're gonna have a good laugh for the end of the day. The teachers, which I still experience in universities, and that is that if you talk about the movements, it goes against the music. Which is just absurd for me. I mean, why would be working with your body? I mean, like, no, don't do this. Like, Beethoven didn't say this, so I don't know. But I mean, how do we know? I mean, like, actually, Czerny was writing. Sorry, now I'm like, my brain is going. But Czerny was writing that Beethoven was talking a lot about like how to play at the piano and like this.
Well, I
So,
mean, Frederick
anyways,
Chopin was
but
very
yeah, so this
very
is
particular.
funny for me.
Mm. Of course, I think that the greatest teachers, one way or another, help their students to develop musical technique.
Wait,
Did we get another connection problem?
yeah, yeah. I have to say, you just froze somehow. Now you're back. Can you say this whole sentence one more time?
I said that I think that the greatest teachers, one way or another, always found a way to help their students not only musically but also to find a better way to play piano. So it has to be
Yeah.
united, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I really think like that everything we do physically mirrors in the sound. And if you just have the idea in your head and you can be a great musician, but if it doesn't communicate through the body to the instrument, like you're not realizing your ideas actually. And I really think because if you are a genius, you might not need this phase of working on the body, you know, because it's so interconnected. And really don't misunderstand. I don't mean you should forever just think about what your arm does. But I think it's like really, you know, like one teacher who I'm taking lessons, Claudio Martinez Mena, who was an incredible pianist and musician. You know, he worked a lot on the body, but he almost shifted the whole game afterwards and says it's not like, okay, I'm doing this for the passage, but it's the note telling me what the note needs, you know. So if the note goes a certain way, you know, my arm will follow and do a certain thing. And I mean, like that's a hard process because we learn it first in a certain way. And then, yes, you can go levels up in terms of mastery and then be like, okay, now you will teach yourself that if you see this chord in the score, your arm will do a certain thing. And this, well, let's see. We will talk again in a few years. Okay.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, at some point you have to flip your perspective and just,
Yeah.
yeah. What I really like a saying of one wise person that what works great on a certain stage starts to be limiting on another stage. So you'd better adapt and grow and always work on your perspective. So you don't get stuck in something that works now because tomorrow
Yeah.
you might need to change.
Yes.
Yeah. So this flexibility
Yeah.
and open-mindedness and sensitivity is so important in life and also in music.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you because also musically, in a way, you know, I'm really not talking here from the place of like, listen, guys, I mastered this. No, no, I'm talking from a place of I'm learning, you know, and trying every day at the instrument and everything but I figure out, you know, like it's really great to have like a plan. How would I play the piece and everything? But then you get to a different piano, to a different acoustic, and things change, you know. And I really think that in the end, like this enormous flexibility and being able to be responsive, you know, to like different circumstances, and then your body has to also respond. So if you trained your body the whole time to do exactly this, just and then you go to a different piano and your body can't adapt, that's also not the right way for practicing. But I mean, it's not easy for sure. And well, we will keep learning and talk again in a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope sooner than that. I hope we'll
Sooner than it. Yes, yes, yes. No, it's a way of speaking, you know.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Rafael, for this fascinating talk. I'm
Thank
happy
you,
that
Dennis.
we
Thank you
made
for
it.
having me.